Our third video covers federal financial aid and is probably the most complex topic. We're going to discuss what is financial aid, how can I qualify, how much can I get, how do I apply, what happens after I apply, and where can I get more info. First, financial aid is money that is used to help pay for college or career school. This includes grants, work study, loans, and scholarships. Grants are considered non-merit financial aid. It's money that can be awarded based upon need or participation in clubs and activities, whereas scholarships are typically awarded based upon merit, which is your GPA, your SAT scores, and overall academic performance. Work study is a great opportunity for students to find a job on campus. A lot of families are not aware that if you work on campus, you do not pay for federal income tax. So it is a huge advantage for a student to work on campus versus off campus while in college. The final form of financial aid are student loans. Student loans are typically offered in the form of direct Stafford loans, which can be made available as subsidized or unsubsidized loans. A subsidized loan is a loan in which the government pays the interest while the student is enrolled in school, or at least up to 6 months after school. An unsubsidized loan is a loan where the student's loan is accruing interest while they're in college. In addition to the direct Stafford loan, students may also qualify for a Perkins loan. Outside of this, students can apply for alternative loans, and parents can also qualify for a direct Parent Plus loan. First, you can use resources such as the FAFSA Forecaster to determine how much financial aid you may be eligible for. This is a great tool to explore affordability for colleges before your student applies and as early as their junior year. To use FAFSA Forecaster, you would go to FAFSA.gov, FAFSA.gov, and find the link Thinking About College. It's on the lower right of the homepage. You enter some general financial information and you would get an estimate to help you determine your cost and financial aid award eligibility. Now, who can qualify for federal student aid? You do have to be a U.S. citizen, national, or eligible non-citizen in order to qualify for federal financial aid. You also must have a high school diploma or equivalent. You also must be enrolling in an eligible degree or certificate program in college and career schools or university. A college must be accredited in order to receive federal financial aid. Students must have a valid Social Security number, and males must have registered for selective services. Additionally, students must maintain satisfactory academic progress while they are in college. Info about eligibility can be found at studentaid.gov/eligibility. Oftentimes, students and families wonder how much they will qualify for in federal student aid. In general, this is dependent upon your financial need. Financial need is completed once you've done the FAFSA. It gives you an expected family contribution, often referred to as an EFC. Colleges take the EFC from your FAFSA, and then they deduct it from the cost of attendance at their school to determine if you have financial need. Cost of attendance at the college is a very broad budget. It includes tuitions, fees, room and board, and those are all things payable directly to the college. But you will also see they have items such as personal expenses and transportation. I always like families to understand that the overall budget is different from the actual budget that you will pay to the university. What I mean by this is you will have personal expenses or transportation expenses even if your child took a gap year. So that's not money you're going to be paying directly to the college. Really, you want to focus on tuition, fees, and room and board. Once the college takes the cost of attendance and subtracts the EFC, if there is a remaining balance, that indicates to them that you are a student with financial need. It also is important to note that even if your EFC is only $1,000, unfortunately, that does not mean that is all you will pay for college. It is just a baseline to determine eligibility. So how do you apply for financial aid? Similar to the state financial aid, the federal financial aid application, or FAFSA, free application for federal student aid, opens October 1st of a student's senior year. Students are encouraged to apply as soon as the application opens because it ensures they have the most opportunity for scholarship money. However, one misperception is just because the FAFSA is done, they'll be set. Students need to understand they have to apply and be accepted to a college before any financial aid offer can be made. In addition to doing the federal financial aid, students would complete the state application at that time as well. So how do you apply for federal student aid? It's important to note that most high school students are classified as dependent, which means that they must provide their parents' information to complete the FAFSA. If parents are divorced, you would provide the information for the parent that you reside with. It does not matter which parent claims you on the taxes. Oftentimes, I have students inquire and they say that they share 50-50 between households. In that scenario, if each parent receives child support, that is more than likely the parent that you should be completing the FAFSA with. There are some exceptions, though, where you would not be classified as a dependent student. Rather, you would be classified as an independent student and you would not use your parents' information. These exceptions are being 24 years of age, being married, you are a member of the armed forces, you're an orphan or ward of the court, someone who has a child, you're an emancipated minor, or you're homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. I want to take a moment to define what it means to be homeless. Oftentimes, people make an assumption that means they're sleeping on the street. But homeless, as defined by the McKinney-Vito Act, says that any student that is residing with other family, cohabitating, sleeping on a couch, or in a hotel or shelter is considered homeless. More often than not, many family members are living together. So if you're in a situation where you and your family are living with grandparents or someone else who's helping to provide for your care, you may classify as homeless under the McKinney-Vito Act. You should talk to your school counselor to see if a heat referral should be processed. So now let's talk about the process of how you actually apply for financial aid. To complete the FAFSA, both the student and parent must create a unique username and password. I like to address the parents first. If you yourself have been in college or have another child in college, you may have already created a username and password, and you will use the same username and password for this child as well. To create a username and password, you're going to go to the FSA ID website, which is fsaid.ed.gov. When you go to this site, you'll be asked to create a profile. It'll ask you for your general name information, your social security, your date of birth, your address. You'll also want to make sure that you use a valid email so that you can verify your account. This step is probably the most important and often missed. So take a moment, check your email, and enter the 6-digit verification code when prompted. Likewise, it'll send you a 6-digit text number to your cell phone so you can verify that. This is all part of the setup process when you create your unique username and password. Once you've created your username and password for both the student and parent, you're going to need to gather some additional information to complete the FAFSA. You will need social security numbers for the parents and the student enrolling in college. Or if you're an eligible non-citizen, you'll need your alien registration number. You'll also need to gather your federal tax information or tax returns, records of untaxed income, cash and savings balances, and investments and other things, other than the home which you live in. Note, when you complete the FAFSA, you actually are using year prior tax information. So for students that are graduating in the class of 2019, they are actually going to use tax information from 2017. And I'll explain more on that in just a moment. Once you've gathered this information and you have your username and passwords, you will then go to fafsa.ed.gov to complete your FAFSA. Again, students can apply as early as October 1st during their senior year. It is important to note that many states have financial aid deadlines. In Florida, it's suggested that your FAFSA be completed by May 15th to qualify for the maximum in state and federal aid. Schools may also have deadlines in which your FAFSA must be submitted by. So make sure to check the financial aid websites at the schools in which you're applying to make sure you meet all the necessary deadlines. Another common question asked by students and families is, which FAFSA do I need to complete? When you log into the FAFSA website, you will see 2 FAFSA applications opened. I'm going to give you an example based upon our current year. For seniors this year in the class of 2019, their school year is 2018-2019. When they're doing the FAFSA, they would log in and see 2 application options. They would see an application for 2018-2019, and they would see an application for 2019-2020. Generally speaking, I encourage seniors to do both applications. Remember earlier, I said that this can be a really complicated process. The reason I encourage students to do both applications is colleges determine which application they're going to use for the summer term. Because remember, 2018-19 and 2019-20 both have the year 2019 in them. And unfortunately, every college makes the decision as to how do they use that application. So, most of the time, a student would do 2018-2019 if they were considering taking summer classes or beginning in the summer term. However, they probably plan to continue in August, which means they also need to do the 2019-2020 application. The good news, you would only ever do 2 applications the very first year you went to college. Next year, in October, and every year thereafter, you would just complete the next year's financial aid application. Another important suggestion when you're completing your FAFSA is be sure to actually log in with your username and password. This will simplify the process in the end and make things smoother. Another really valuable resource that has finally come about is the IRS has been able to link their tax system with the FAFSA. This means you can log into the IRS system and pull over the data into the application. It means you don't have to determine what number to type in and where to find it on your tax documents. To use this feature, you have to type your name and address exactly as it appeared on your tax returns. The IRS retrieval tool can eliminate a lot of frustrations in trying to interpret what the FAFSA is asking for you. So it's always suggested you go ahead and link your FAFSA to the IRS if you're able to do so. One final word of advice when applying for financial aid and completing the FAFSA is to do it with your parents. Often students try to complete this task on their own by gathering documents and logging in and creating even username and passwords for their parents. This is actually against federal regulations and explicitly stated on the FSA ID page. So make sure you and your parents sit down together. This ensures that the Social Security numbers are correct, date of births are correct, and there's even questions that ask about wedding dates and/or separation or divorce dates. This is all much more likely to be answered correctly if you and your parent work on this together. And don't forget, once you verify the information on the FAFSA, be sure to scroll all the way down and click Submit. Don't log out until you see the confirmation page. Now that you've completed the FAFSA, you're able to determine how much federal student aid you can receive. The information I'm going to go over is based upon the 18-19 school year, and it's also assuming that a student is a dependent student of their parent. The maximum Pell Grant a student can receive in the 18-19 school year is $6,220. Now I want to explain, though, how you receive that maximum grant. First, you need to understand that that's based upon you being a full-time student. So let's round down just for the simple explanation. $6,000 a year for being full-time. If you took a half-time load and only took 6 hours versus the required 12-hour classes, you would only be eligible for $3,000 in the federal Pell Grant. Another point of confusion for students is that your cost of attendance at the school is actually broken out per semester. So $6,000 per year would show on your financial aid award as $3,000 per semester. Earlier, I also talked with you about federal work study, and this depends upon availability of jobs at the school. And remember, I encourage you, if offered federal work study, take it. I explain it like a teaching assistant or a practical arts position at our high schools, or you work as a TA in the office. Sometimes you're really busy running passes, and other times you're just sitting there and studying. What a great way to earn money in college, and you're not paying federal income taxes while doing it. Again, you may be eligible for the Stafford loans that we talked about earlier, the direct loans or unsubsidized or Parent Plus loans. But also there's a slew of other financial aid grants that you may want to inquire about, such as the SEOG grant. It's a Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, or the Perkins loan. In those scenarios, the federal government gives financial aid or free money to the college to award as they see fit. So it's not an entitlement like the Pell Grant. Now, if I confused you, an entitlement means you get it no matter what. So Pell, if you qualify, you get it no matter what. But with SEOG, the college determines which students need more support because they have financial need. So now you've completed your FAFSA and listed your schools. So what happens next? First, you need to know that once you apply to a college, they're no longer going to communicate with you through mail or your email. In fact, you often have an account specifically created by that college that you have to log into and monitor. So view this as our Focus or portal. Students can log into Focus and Portal and view their grades and check their status. Similarly, once you are applied and accepted to a college, you will actually have to log into that school's unique portal to view your admissions status, enrollment action items such as submitting deposits or immunizations. Also, this is where you'll view your financial aid award. So it's really important that you get into the habit of checking your emails. You may come across an email or a status when you view financial aid that indicates you were selected for verification. You may also get an email notification from the Department of Education informing you that your FAFSA was selected for verification. It's important to note that FAFSAs are randomly selected for verification, and it's almost 70% of students that have to go through this process. Unfortunately, the federal government does not verify the information for everyone, so they put the burden on the colleges to complete this. That means for every college you apply to, if you're selected for verification, you have to submit to them documentations to make sure that what you listed on your FAFSA is correct. The first word of advice, if you've already eliminated a school and you know you're no longer planning to enroll there, just call them and advise them and cancel your application. Only complete the verification process with the schools that you plan on enrolling or you're still debating between. Once the verification process is complete, that college can then award you a financial aid package. So it's so important you check your emails and complete this task as soon as possible, because until it's done, you don't know how affordable it may be, and you can also miss out on other scholarships and opportunities. Once you've received your financial aid award offers, it's really imperative to sit down and review them, compare them to the cost of attendance, and remember the actual budget, what you owe to the university, like tuition, room, board, and fees. Don't account for the things that you would pay for even if you took that gap year, like personal items and transportation. Take the actual budget and subtract your financial aid, and this will give you a baseline of what you would owe. Another point that I like parents to really understand and pay attention to, and sometimes I find it a little tricky and deceiving by colleges. When you get a financial aid award, oftentimes colleges will include a Parent Plus loan, as if you're eligible for it and everything is set. What parents need to understand is you actually have to be credit worthy for that loan. A student loan, if they want it, they can accept it and complete the paperwork. But for the Parent Plus loan that may often be presented in your financial aid award, you actually have to go online and apply, and it is credit-based. Another point to mention is if a parent does not qualify for a Parent Plus loan, the student's direct Stafford loan automatically increases between $4,000 and $5,000 of eligibility. Now that you've done the FAFSA and had a financial aid award, the other thing you will notice is that your state institutional aid may be listed as an estimate or projection. The state financial aid generally does not finalize until July or early August, because remember, you can apply up through August 31st after graduation. Once you decide what school you plan on attending, it is imperative that you be in regular communication with the financial aid office and the admissions office, making sure that you're monitoring your records and not missing out on these opportunities. So at the beginning of this video, I communicated that this was perhaps the most complex section of all of these videos, and I have covered a lot of information. I don't want you to be overwhelmed, but instead, use the many resources that are available to you. One, these videos will be posted online. But another thing, most high schools throughout Pinellas County offer FAFSA Nights or sessions to assist families and parents in completing the FAFSA. Also, many local colleges host FAFSA Nights where you can go to their campus to get assistance in completing them as well. So I encourage you, if you have any questions about the material covered here, or you're curious about when those FAFSA Nights will be made available, reach out to your school counselor or the e-counselors and even monitor the Elevating Excellence site for sessions that they'll be posting, normally after that October 1st launch date.